Ski Television is sponsored by Bollé, the life since 1888. And by Head, the power of you.
Welcome back to Ski Television. It's time for this week's Alpine Report. Brian Stemmle joining me in studio. And this week we're going to talk about ski cross. Brian, recently at Blue Mountain in Ontario, the only ski cross World Cup to be held in North America this year took place. And what a great show, a big crowd, the Canadians doing really well at home. This has got to be good for ski cross in Canada, in North America, to have success and have a big event like this on home turf.
Sure, it was a great start, I think. Last couple of years in Blue Mountain's been fantastic. The problem is they've held it on Fridays. And there's just not a lot of people up there on Friday. Sure, big crowd, 2,000-3,000, but you have it on a Saturday afternoon, you get more people and more exposure, and I think that's a problem. They haven't really exposed ski cross to enough people. We saw it in 2010 where it was spectacular. Ashley McIver winning, Del Bosco coming over that last jump and crashing out. But why does freestyle decide to put it on a Friday afternoon rather than a Saturday on the weekend?
Okay, well, I can speak to that a little bit. I'm involved in freestyle and involved in the event at Blue Mountain, and I can tell you that one of the problems is that with a busy resort like Blue Mountain, one of the busiest in North America, you have to find that balance between running a good event and allowing them not to affect their business too much with the event. So that's part of it.
Yeah, but they're going to bring business into the community. That'll expand. There'll be 20,000 people there probably drinking beer and buying food and staying in hotel rooms in the evening. And I think that's what they need. They need it on a Saturday. Then what are you worried about, money? Because you're taking away from some of the stuff at Blue Mountain?
Well, interestingly,
I know it's always about money, but...
Well, it is, and you know, one of the challenges with the FIS and the way that the events are scheduled and the rules around the events is that you have to subsidize the teams coming in from all over the world, and in a place like Blue Mountain where Saturday night is the biggest night of the week throughout the winter, the costs skyrocket for accommodation. So Friday night becomes...
Put them in Meaford, a half an hour away. They have cheap hotels there. Trust me, my grandparents live there.
Can you see Chris Del Bosco and the team staying at the Meaford Motel?
No, I can't really, but it does come down to money. But it's such a great event. They have great athletes. We're seeing them win. And I think that's why people love ski cross so much. You're seeing Del Bosco win and Brady Lehman and being competitive in the X Games. The women's side is a little bit more difficult because we've seen so many injuries, but they need to promote it a little bit better.
Let's talk a little bit about the injury side of things, though. We see all the men being pretty healthy this year. A lot of injuries on the Women's World Cup. Hopefully David injured at the X Games. The Canadian team, Ashley McIver, Danny Polischuk, Julia Murray, all out right now. Kelsey Surwa. Why so many injuries on the women's side? Is it a course factor where they build them for the men and the women have to deal with a course that's maybe too much for them?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, because the men's course, you want to see it challenging. You want the best in the world to be challenged for the men, but then the women have to go on it as well. And all of a sudden they're flying 140 feet off the X Games jump and the finish, landing on the finish line and blowing themselves up, and that's just not good for skiing. You want to see the best athletes racing all the time. You don't want to see them knocked out for the rest of the year. And I know a lot of coaches up north in Collingwood, Ontario, are worried about getting their kids into ski cross because it is so dangerous.
What does Alpine Canada have to do to make sure that ski cross is integrated into the Alpine program? I mean, we talked a little bit a few weeks back about the lack of depth at the base. I think an event like the successful event at Blue Mountain will, you know, definitely create some momentum, but I also think that Alpine Canada needs to find a way to introduce that more freestyle-like component of ski cross into their system so that we can develop the skier.
Yeah, but I know that the Alpine is kind of resistant to give some of their athletes over to ski cross, and I've talked to some of the ski cross guys, some of the head top guys at ski cross, and they say, you know, can you give us some athletes? You have these great athletes here and you want to keep them in Alpine until they're basically haven't met the criteria, they're almost kicked off the team, and then okay, you can give us your scraps, that's fine. And not saying that the athletes are bad, they're just not great World Cup racers at that point, and they just don't have enough support behind them to continue on. And you know, I think it's tough. You know, you guys are sticking up for your freestyle and ski cross, and Alpine's kind of pulling back and forth, and I think they need to work together a little bit better.
Well, I agree. You know, there's definitely the Alpine nature of ski cross. It is Alpine racing with some jumps, but culturally I think it fits well in freestyle. And somehow the two have to bridge the gap. You know, I see a lot of alpine teams and coaches out there now taking their kids into the terrain parks and, you know, riding off the jumps, riding the half pipe. That's got to be a good step towards taking alpine skiers and turning them into ski cross racers.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you ski and the more challenges you show yourself as a skier, the better ski racer you're going to be, ski cross athlete, mogul skier, freestyler, whatever you want. If you ski all the time, it's just going to enhance your capabilities of being the best in the world. It's just a matter of getting the squareheads or the traditionalists at the FIS to embrace ski cross a little bit better, because I think it's a great sport and I love watching it. It's exciting all the time.
Well, the freestyle discipline had the foresight to bring ski cross into the FIS fold.
But you know, they just haven't promoted it as well as they could, and I don't know why they're resistant in doing it. Sure, they're traditional and they love alpine, but it's going to take them a while to wake up.
And the battle rages on. We'll be back to go another round next week. Thanks to Brian Stemmle for joining me on the Alpine Report. But that wraps up another episode of Ski Television. Stay tuned, though. An hour of FIS World Cup freestyle skiing still to come. We'll see you soon.